Welcome back, dear listeners, to the Lingus Podcast, your weekly space for discussions on linguistics, society, and power. My name is Ghianna, and in today's episode, Whispers of Control, we'll explore how linguistic interactions shape the unseen forces that structure our lives.
And I am Mary. First, I have a question for you. Have you ever felt like the way you speak, the words you choose, or even the language you use is being watched or judged? Maybe online, and in some cases, maybe even in person.
If your answer is no, then brace yourself, because in some way you're being monitored, linguistically speaking. Language isn't just a tool of communication, it is also a means of control, shaping how we think, behave, and even perceive ourselves and others. This idea ties directly to two key concepts, the panopticon and interpolation, both of which deeply influence our linguistic interactions.
Let's start with the idea of the panopticon. Originally a prison designed by Jeremy Bentham, but famously reinterpreted by Michel Foucault as a metaphor for societal control. The design consists of a central watchtower surrounded by many cells, where prisoners never know when they are being observed, leading them to regulate their own behavior out of fear of surveillance, even if they aren't really being watched. Thus, the panopticon isn't just about physical confinement, it is about psychological manipulation.
Now, let's apply this to language. Think about how we self-censor in different social settings. Online, we craft our words carefully, knowing they might be scrutinized by employers, friends, or even strangers. In professional environments, we use formal language to maintain credibility. Even in casual conversations, we adjust our speech based on our audience, avoiding certain words or expressions for fear of social repercussions.
This linguistic self-surveillance is a modern version of the panopticon. The fear of being misunderstood, ridiculed, or even being cancelled forces us to monitor our own language at all times. We modify our speech to fit the expectations of different societal groups, effectively becoming prisoners of linguistic norms imposed by society. We are not sharing anymore, we are performing. That's what we really are, just a bunch of overly self-aware performers who are in constant fear of being judged.
That brings us to interpolation, a concept introduced by Louis Althusser, which explains how individuals are hailed into social roles through language. When someone calls you by a title like doctor, teacher, or troublemaker, or even a nickname, they aren't just naming you. They're assigning you an identity that shapes your behavior and self-perception. It's almost as if society was saying, "Yep, this is who you are, and you can't do nothing about it."
And these labels can be both empowering and limiting, because not only they influence how others perceive us, but they also influence how we see ourselves. For instance, if someone labels you as the smart one in your friend group, then you're most likely going to feel pressure to always act intelligently, to always have a solution for them, or to maybe not even be able to fail. On the contrary, for example, if you are deemed to be dumb, then you may start to believe it yourself, even if that's not really true. Over time, you may become hesitant to speak up. You may start avoiding challenges, or even worse, you may stop pushing yourself altogether. In both cases, language acts as a mechanism of control, subtly influencing how individuals perceive themselves and navigate societal structures.
But what happens when language is deliberately used to manipulate entire populations? This is where we step into the realm of political rhetoric and propaganda. Leaders throughout history have understood the power of words, how they can be weaponized to shape ideologies, incite emotions, and consolidate power. Perhaps the most infamous example is Adolf Hitler.
Hitler's speeches were not just political addresses, they were performances of linguistic manipulation. He used repetition, simple and emotionally charged language, and carefully crafted rhetoric to sway public opinion. Phrases like "the eternal Jew" or "national rebirth" painted complex sociopolitical issues in stark, binary terms: us versus them, purity versus corruption. The deliberate use of language created a framework where people's fears and frustrations were redirected towards the scapegoats, making mass control not just possible, but also effective.
This tactic isn't unique to Hitler. Throughout history, authoritarian leaders and propagandists have employed similar strategies. Stalin's use of euphemisms like liquidation instead of mass execution, or the US military's term like collateral damage to describe civilian casualties. These linguistic choices obscure reality, making the unthinkable seem palatable.
And this phenomenon isn't just historical. Today, political campaigns, news media, and even corporations use linguistic framing to control narratives. Think about terms like fake news. It is not really just a phrase, it's a strategic way to delegitimize information and erode trust in the media. Orwell's concept of newspeak in 1984 warned us about this. Language can be stripped of complexity to limit thought, making dissent or even independent thinking difficult.
Social media amplify this even further. Algorithms reward emotionally charged language, polarizing discourse and creating echo chambers. The way we label people, woke, radical, patriot, traitor, doesn't just describe, it defines, reducing complex identities to ideological shorthand. When words are weaponized in this way, they become tools of control, shaping how we engage with reality itself.
And this cycle of linguistic surveillance, political manipulation, and identity formation creates a powerful web of expectations. Language isn't just about communication, it's about shaping reality. Every word we use, every title we accept, and every label we resist or accept plays a role in maintaining or challenging societal structures.
So, dear listeners, we encourage you to reflect on your own linguistic experiences. How has language shaped your sense of self? How do you regulate your speech in different contexts? The power of words goes beyond what we say. It lies in how we are heard, perceived, and controlled.
So thank you for joining us on this exploration of language, surveillance, and identity, dear listener. Until next time, keep questioning the words around you. Stay critical, stay aware, and most importantly, stay vocal.